You've inventoried your parts, everything looks good and everything is here and accounted for, so our very first step is going to be to glue on our first rail piece. Now you have 3 rail pieces here. 2 of them have a little swoop on them like this, and those are not the ones we're going to do. We're going to start with this top rail piece. Looks like this. Angles on both ends, and then there's a hole here that's going to get a screw and a plug later. So first thing you want to do is test fit this on the back side of your top piece, and you'll know it's the back side because the front side has some punch marks for the tuning pins. It also has a recessed hole for the rosette. So we're going to flip it over and we're going to fit this to the back side. Now this will only fit one way. So you can, and the way that it fits is to have this hole is up near where the rosette goes on the outside. So you can, if you try it the other way, it won't line up. But if you try it this way, I'll see if I can show you here. You'll see that the angles will line up nicely here and here. And it should be cut to fit so that when you line it up right here on the edge, there'll be a little bit of overhang on either side. So test fit that, and when you're happy with that, you want to get your woodworker's glue ready, some clamps. You can use some of these spring clamps, or you might want to use some C-clamps. These are easy to use. If you're going to use these, make sure you have some scrap pieces of wood so that you don't put some marks or dents in your kantele. And the other important thing to have is a wet rag and a screwdriver so you can clean up any glue that squeezes out right away. Make it a lot easier than trying to sand off the dried glue later. So gather all your tools and your glue and make sure you have this lined up, and our next step will be to glue it on. Okay, so everything's lined up. You have your clamps and your glue. So we want to pick this up, and one thing I've done is I've laid the top piece on these other 2 rails to kind of elevate it off your work surface. That'll make it a little bit easier to clamp, which you may have discovered if you tried to dry fit this. So we're going to take our woodworker's glue and we're going to put some glue along here. Well, just enough. We don't want too much so it's squeezing out all over, but we want to have enough so that it covers the bottom nicely. I like to spread it out here so we have a nice good consistent surface of glue across the top. Make sure you wipe your finger off on your cloth, and we're going to set this down. So remember, we want a little bit of overhang on each side, and then it can just be right flush with the edge of the soundboard or top piece. So if you push it on there, push it down a little bit, get it set in place. And you can take one of your clamps, make sure you have a little overhang on both sides, and clamp it down. Now when you put this clamp down, it's going to want to slide out of place a little bit, so be careful about that. It'll slide out of place quite a bit here. There we go. And we're still looking good with our overhang. We'll go over here to this other side, and we'll be careful to keep this all lined up. So that's looking pretty good. We'll clamp in here. And still sliding a little bit, but you can make adjustments before things get too firmly set in place. And clamp this along. And then turn this around. You can see that we have a little glue squeeze out in here. Now that's going to be on the inside of the instrument, but it's always a good idea to clean that up. So you take your wet rag and a flathead screwdriver, put that in there, and just go along and clean that up. Try to use a clean part of the rag so you're not just smearing the glue all over. If you have any glue on the front side, you can clean that up too. That'll also get sanded off during our final sanding. So this is the first piece, and you want to make sure this one goes on first. Good. Let this dry for about an hour and we'll come back and we'll glue on the next piece.